Hi, thanks for joining us right here on yet another wonderful episode of The Nation, where we talk about topics that truly do concern each and every one of us across the nation. Now, we talk about architecture and we always think structural buildings and construction, but it is more than that. What about the outdoors and environment around us? And that brings us to the topic of landscape architecture. Now, of course, April is World Landscape Architecture Month, which is an international celebration of landscape architecture. Today I'm joined by three very special guests from the Institute of Landscape Architects Malaysia, otherwise known as ILAM. With me, Professor Madya, Landscape Architect Dr. Osman Muhammad Tahir, who is the President, as well as Vice President, Landscape Architect Dr. Suhardi Maulan, PhD, as well as Landscape Architect Siti Maisara Salahuddin, the auditor at ILAM. Thank you so much for being with us in the studios and welcome. Thank you. So much to talk about, and of course, looking at you, I see very passionate, creative people who truly, understand what it means to take this passion out and create something literally out of nothing. But Professor, maybe we can start with you. What is ILAM's lineup for this year, especially with it being in April, the World Landscape Month?
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Jessica. I think before I answer your questions, maybe it's good to know who is ILAM first, right? So ILAM is the Institute of Landscape Architect Malaysia. So we are the one that looking through the what we call all our professions in terms of landscape architects profession in Malaysia, and currently we have more than 1,500 members that's under the institute, and at the same time we are also working with the industries in terms of the landscape development in Malaysia and also abroad. I think now because of the what we call borderless world, some of our members are also working abroad. So for Landscape Architecture Month, ILAM is also a member of the Institute, the International Federations of Landscape Architects, the world organizations, and we are celebrating every year. Month of April is our month.
Dedicated.
I call it our month is the industry, the landscape architecture, World Landscape Architecture Month, and for ILAM, we have put a lot of activities in April, and one of the most prestigious activities that we have currently, or just last week, we have what we call Malaysia Landscape Architecture Awards 2018. I think this is something that we are proud of, that we are recognizing the whole industry of landscape architecture, not only the professions, but also the developers, the contractors, the what we call local authorities, researchers, students, and cut across, and also the media. So I think this is something that we recognize the whole industry, and at the same time, with these recognitions, it also helps in terms of making the benchmark for the development of landscape architecture in Malaysia. And for this year, we are even proud because this is the 10th. We are celebrating. Yes, we are celebrating.
Wonderful.
Yeah,
that's right. Now, I wanted to sort of pick your minds a little bit. We always talk about landscape and we talk about environment friendly, going green. And I just wanted to know, in your opinions, private spaces, we're bringing that outdoor in now, because that's suddenly become something a lot of people have begun to appreciate, having greenery around us, working in, very zen surroundings. How do you incorporate that into our daily lives, Dr. Sardi?
I think the idea of bringing landscape into our structure or buildings have been going on for so long. Actually, since the Roman times, we have the ideas of the atrium, or that we have the outdoor space inside the indoor space. But I think the idea has been revisited recently because of this issue like the environmental issue like global warming, need more greenery for therapeutic landscape and so forth. So I think this is the main ideas that we have now. Landscape not only become outdoor spaces, but also it can be a space within the indoor setting and setup, and it's very crucial to have that because we want to have the environment that or the scenario or the scene that reappear not only for our daily activities but also for our well-being. And landscape is always have the therapeutic or the characteristic that can enhance our well-being. So I think it's quite common now. We have the integration of the landscape with the architecture, and then we have the indoor spaces. We also have the green wall. We also have the rooftop. So this kind of situation actually enhance the synergy between the architecture as well as the landscape. And then I think it's a new phenomena during this particular time of these decades, I guess.
That's right. Because we look at structures and we think, yes, of course, it needs to have greenery, but we forget how much work and design process goes into that. We take a quick commercial break and we'll be right back to continue our discussion right here on The Nation. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to The Nation, in conversation with the council members of the Institute of Landscape Architects Malaysia, otherwise known as ILAM. Just before the break, we spoke about where exactly the industry is going and how it's evolving. Right now, basically, I'd like to ask each of you, MLAA 10 years, celebrating people's achievements, creativity, their passion, of course, and the success. But question is, has the industry evolved much? What is the maturity like? And in terms of, you know, when we set the rules and regulations, what kind of structures in place?
Actually, in fact, when you started to see the outdoor and indoor, at first, I think for the past 20 years, because ILAM have been in the industry for more than nearly 40 years already. But for the past 20 years, people are talking about landscape as just planting of trees.
That's right.
Getting greeneries and whatnot. But with this MLAA, we feel that we know the current trend. Actually, every year we look at the trends and whatnot, and we have this bulletin, landscape bulletin, whereby really we can see the trends coming in, whereby it's no longer just a greenery as aesthetic value, but you see that it's more functionals and it really gives a lot of benefits to the users.
Integrated into everyday living and working.
That's right. And at the same time, with this landscape architecture awards also, we are not celebrating just the seniors. We also have the
absolutely, which
the young
brings
landscape,
me to the lovely lady.
Yes, the young landscape
my
architects.
guest panel, landscape
right.
architect Maisara. Of course, you're the winner of the Young Landscape Architect Award the previous year. Share with us how MLAA has benefited you, your experience, and your thoughts and views as you know, a young one coming into this industry.
Okay, thank you. Well, basically, this Young Landscape Architect Award has been started since 2015, and I feel so honored to be the second recipient, which is on the following year, which is 2016. And I think by winning this Young Landscape Architect Award, I think it's quite a positive experience for me, where it has motivates me and to keep moving and in pursuing my career development. And in fact, MLAA itself, I think it has been a great platform to all the landscape industry players, and especially the young landscape architects, to showcase their capabilities, their creativities, and also achievements locally and internationally. And I think for the past years, ILAM has been proactively encouraging, pushing these young landscape architects to come together to join, to be part of the ILAM program. I think they just not just being a participant, but they also have been the volunteers of the program, and then we granted the CPD point. I think that is quite good effort from ILAM. And in fact, ILAM also positively have been collaborated with other professional bodies, where recently I have been selected to represent the young landscape architect, to work together with other young professionals like architects, engineers, planners, to conduct a program called Young People's Lab, where we sit down and brainstorm creating ideas to improve our KL City Hall. I think it's quite good effort they have made. And besides being the council member, I'm also has been elected as the president of our landscape architecture alumni, where we have closely worked together with ILAM to conduct forums, talks, and also to help ILAM to manage the study group for people who to sit this professional exam. And I think it's quite a positive feedback from the people.
Having that wonderful platform as a foundation as well, do you feel that young architects these days, particularly young landscape architects, have a different perspective on how they would like to push that bar, that boundary, a young perspective and a more experienced perspective?
Yeah, when you say that pushing, I mean, beyond the horizon, right? I think we have been experiencing all these landscape trends. So we really hope that we can do some changes on this landscape architecture. So, and also we would like to change our people's perspective, which is landscape architect is not just planting trees, but it is actually beyond than that. And even we have been collaborate with other professionals like I said just now, architects, planners, or interior design, to make this project, certain project, as a whole. So we're not just thinking about landscape, but we also have to give concern about other elements like the indoor itself, so that we can have one design language, and also to achieve the sustainable living.
I think the young architect, I think the most important thing that ILAM provide a platform for them to be in the front. Right? This opportunity, I think all the young architects have take this opportunity to be in front. But for us, the most important thing, actually, we want to see new leadership come up from this award, so they can be future of the landscape architecture profession. So I think it's quite important for them to have the platform. So when they have this award and then they start to involve in young forum with the architect, engineer, and so forth, this is actually the place where actually they can share new ideas. Maybe that myself and Mr. President don't have the opportunities to share with others, but they have to contribute to the development of the nation as a whole, especially in the field of environment and design.
Actually, in terms of ILAM, we are preparing ourselves and the industry as a whole. In fact, starting last year we launched what we call this Landscape Architecture Agenda 2050. So it is in line with the National Transformation TN 2050. So we are looking at, well, we are reaching 2020, whereby we have our National Landscape Policy, which ends until 2050. What will happen in the next 30 years? So we are working hard in terms of developing this what we call Landscape Architecture Agenda 2050, and with the current what we call members, and also the new generations, the what we call the young landscape architects, the new graduates. We are preparing them. In fact, if we are looking at new graduates, we are preparing them. We call it future graduates, whereby they can solve problems, whereby maybe we don't know what the future problem is. So these are the future graduates that we are preparing. So with this landscape architecture agenda, I think it will be a good platform for us to move forward.
To lead, to aspire, and to be alive.
That's right.
Yeah. Time for a quick breather now. We need to go outdoors for a while. Just kidding. We'll be right back here in the studios. Don't go anywhere. Hi there, you're watching The Nation with me, Jessie Chahal, and my panel of guests in the studio, Institute of Landscape Architects Malaysia Council members. We've been talking at length about landscape architecture globally and, of course, in Malaysia as well. Here's one question that I think really needs to be addressed. While we talk about landscape architecture, we also need to look at the other important areas and the important role of landscape architects, such as yourselves, in addressing alarming issues like climate change, food security, water quality. What have been your challenges and how are you approaching this in terms of solutions for Malaysia specifically?
It's a big issue. The climate change is a big issue, and then I think the landscape architects, we like to pinpoint to the ideas that we need to have the landscape planning exercise before any development can happen, because landscape planning exercise actually is the exercise in which we identify the landscape resources that need to be taken care of for conservation, for the purpose for mitigating the climate change. So because at this moment when we see the development, many of these landscape resources have been put aside, developed, and we try to recreate. So that's the issue, because we are actually try to restore back the nature that we actually have. So by having the landscape planning exercise, we can save this place and we can make it actually a place that people can enjoy. At the same time, we can protect the environment.
Would you say landscape architects truly understand the environment and landscape?
Actually, when you mention about landscape architect truly for the environment, that's why we mentioned about currently we are not looking environment as environment. When we mention about landscape, we are tackling the issues of environment, socials, and also economy. So meaning that when we develop certain areas, we are using landscape solutions for solving multiple problems. Looking at environmental issues, looking at what are the impact in terms of that development to the social interactions, and also what are the impact of the landscape development for our economic benefits.
So it's a deeper look, 360.
So I've been involved in lots of awards in terms of property awards and whatnot, and I really saw the importance of having this landscape around us, because these are the areas that we are living in.
Professor, thank you so much for being in the studios with us. Of course, thanks to you both as well. We're running out of time as usual. When we get, heated into this topic and discussion, we run out of time. But thank you so much for being in the studios and doing what you do. Thank you so much for watching, for all our viewers across the nation. We'll see you next time.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Thank you.
I thought we